Change the rules or retire. That is what former five-time champion Tom Nicholas said to Boston Public Radio on Thursday, because he wanted to share why he believes the show should consider retooling its rules to let winners earn the program. Let me read this article, then we'll talk about it. Numerous articles have come out in recent weeks questioning the sudden increase in Japanese players with range streaks. Tom Nicholas, a five-time champion of the long-running game show, believes he has the answer. He joined Public Boston Radio on Thursday to share why he believes the show should reconsider its retooling its rules to limit repeat winners earn the program. The one key rule change put Jeopardy on the path to being professionalized by hardcore repeat players up till 2003. Players were only allowed to win 5 consecutive games before being forced to retire. Ever since that rule was abolished, Nicholas claims repeat winners can slaughter new players. Nicholas said, after about 2 or 3 games, I think you've got such an advantage. You've been using the buzzer, which is more important than people realize. You're a lot more comfortable in the studio. You understand the rhythm of the game. Here's where we go on number 1. Ken Jennings in 2004 contested won 74 consecutive games and was most consecutive wins out of all the Jeopardy contestants in the show's history. He now co-hosts with actress Mayim Balak in 2021. In 2021, a contestant, Matt Amanda, won 38 consecutive games, earning the second highest number of consecutive wins. Amy Schneider, last year's contestant who was still competing, currently has 36 consecutive wins. Viewership of Jeopardy has soared during Schneider's streaming week. And here's what Nicholas said. If you'd done that for 8 or 9 or 10 games, there's a reason why they used to retire you. But the ratings are up, and people want to treat it like a sport and professionalize it. You might as well move the show to Vegas. He said his inception with Jeopardy, superstar is something of our culture. The whole charm of the show is to sell the ordinary Americans showing what they knew. It was not supposed to be 38 games of Hulk smash. But the Bill Key winning, he argued, is not mastering the show's question powers and buzzer times. It's a quick recall and memory. And if you want to listen to this podcast, we'll put the article and the link in the description below. That's all I have to say about Jeopardy. But let's get to our COVID cases. Let's start off with the school first. Friday, school was canceled, so there were no COVID cases. On Thursday, 10 high school students, 0 high school staff, which is good. Junior high students have 8, 1 junior high staff, 3 intermediate students, which is the same as Wednesday, 1 junior high staff, 0 intermediate, 6 elementary students, 3 primaries, 1 primary staff, 0 for ECC, with the staff transportation only 1 from the district, which is good. Now, how about for our New Oasis County? 5.81 million plus 66,000, 78,771 plus 185. That's like 81,395 plus 946, which is 82,000. 1339 plus 9. 40% positive tests have been taken. Tests have been taken 1.8 million. Over 800,000. Hospitalization rates. Over 150 people have been hospitalized. 50,000 have been hospitalized. Over almost at 26,000 people are in ICU. 58% of people have been vaccinated, and 69% have had at least 1 dose. We're at 20 million, and 16.8 million people have been vaccinated, who are fully vaccinated. So the big thing is you need to make sure that you're following these steps every day of the week. These steps are to make sure that you're wearing masks. I take this very seriously. Make sure you are wearing masks. It has to be at the bridge of the nose. Not down here, nor down here. And I recommend you get N95 masks to fight the battle against the Omicron variant. Those are the great masks. Those masks are the great tools to use. If your doesn't allow them to say, just if you're asking, they ask you why you're wearing the N95 mask when we don't allow it. Because the Omicron variant is spreading fast, and if it spreads here, I have to be prepared for it. And social distance, 6 feet. 6 feet or more. If you're wearing a mask, then it's 4 feet. Hand washing, very crucial. If you hand wash your hands, it kills the spread of germs. Hot water with soap. If you're riding transportation, then if you're running transportation, same thing. If you have COVID or a coming risk of COVID, you need to stay home stay quarantined for 5 days, and then get a retest. If you're test positive for COVID, you still gotta stay home for 5 days, and then get a retest. Also, if you're under 2, no masks. If you have a medical condition like asthma, or if you're claustrophobic, let them know. And speaking of COVID, when we come back, Oxford students skipped out because of a walk-in. There's a walk-in of COVID. I think that's what I heard, but we'll probably figure out some things. We'll be right back. Ever since the Omicron variant has spread, high school students, many students are walking out. And there were a lot of kids that were walking out over this Omicron variant. Like just today in Atlanta, the Omicron variant has brought a special level of chaos in classrooms, and some teens say their schools are doing enough to protect them. And last week, along with a friend, an 18-year-old senior nearby, started a petition requesting more COVID protections in their district. Yesterday, students across Round left schools in protest. That's why kids were skipping class to go protest. Students are requesting, among other things, that the schools notify them they may be exposed to COVID. Enforced a mask mandate to provide KN95 or N95 mask, which is my concern, because let me ask this: what if a student has a medical condition, has asthma? They have asthma. Aren't you going to sit there and say, what about people who have asthma? You need to make sure that this doesn't happen. But taking on an entire school involves trade-offs. For instance, a student group at Georgetown Law School recently criticized the school's decision to start its spring semester virtually, arguing that motivation, mental health, socialization, and the quality of education provided are suffering. This was all from The Atlantic. And also, Montgomery students stage walkout demand virtual learning. But Brooke, one of the organizers of the walk-in, a junior from the school, said the students are demanding increased health precautions, a temporary return to remote learning, and nothing else, a better enforcement of the indoor mask mandate. She said, "We don't believe that we are a safe learning environment at the moment. There are many students who do not wear the mask correctly. There are many at-risk students there are people who don't feel comfortable coming into school anymore." Earlier this month, MCS laid out a color-coded system to determine whether virtual learning after thresholds are skyrocketed. She said, "They have failed us. They have harbored an environment where COVID breeding ground, and we are not justified with the level of education we are receiving at the moment because so many staff are out and so many students are out." But the 16 schools are now virtual. Briggs, Brookhaven, Clopper Mill, Captain James E. Daly, Gaithersburg, Gallium, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. High School, Lakelands, etc. The protesters calling for the school system to switch to virtual learning for 2 weeks. The walkout began at noon. You can walk out all you want. It won't change a thing. Which brings us to last week. In Michigan, students walk out of Oak Mills High School over COVID-19 backpacking concerns. 9 a.m. today, dozens of Kemal High School students walked out their classes over rising concerns over the school's COVID-19 guidelines and its backpack policy. What is their guidelines and its backpack policy? Prior to winter break, banned backpacks due to safety concerns in the wake of the school shooting. That meeting covered time travel to lockers, students adjusting new organization systems for class materials, concern regarding cell phone storage used in student staff safety. And that's the full, and this is what the full letter. And now this is an online petition. They are punishing. This is what the petition said. They are punishing the whole school because a couple of kids carrying drugs and what occurred at Oxford High School. If they're worried about some kids taking drugs to school, they can take those privileges away from them. And if you look at the petition, this is what the petition said. There's not letting kids take the backpacks. We have 7 minutes passing periods, which isn't enough time to go to our lockers then. The other side of the school and up and down every passing period. They are punishing the whole school because of the couple of kids carrying drugs and what occurred at Oxford High School. They're worried about some kids taking drugs to school. They can just take those papers away from them alone. If they're worried about some kid bringing a gun or weapon to school, they need to search that kid. It's not fair to punish the whole school for a couple of kids' actions. They're just trying to keep the school safe. Okay? There's no need for this crap. There's no need for you to go on a petition and say this, that, and the other. And I'm going to hear from a lot of students like, oh yeah, I understand I understand it's just the safety issues, but we're concerned about our backpack. Why can't we bring backpacks to school anymore? It's basically because of safety purposes. Your school had a shooting, and yet your school district had a shooting, and all you guys want to sit there and do is complain that backpacks are not allowed. If we have to stop multiple times, there won't be a time for you to use the bathroom either. Most of you don't let you use the bathroom during class. When people late to class, it's making them lose time for education. And they will get in trouble when they get home for being late to class. You're 10 minutes late, they will mark. They mark you absent. Now it's impossible that people will be late or absent. I personally don't think taking away one of the organizers we can use will help. This also makes it higher people dropping their computers and breaking them. If everyone wants to go to the locker, it will be even more crowded in the hallways than it already is. You shouldn't be punishing kids for a couple of bad actions. Size petitions we get take our backpacks to class with us. Right now, this is at 756 signatures. I'd have to side with the school, because all they're doing. And social media posts say students are frustrated and individuals are getting sick and frequently, and the school isn't responding. But the interim principal did concern these kinds of things, saying they would meet with the students as soon as to find a resolution. Like, what resolution would they do? And speaking of Oxford, coming up, Michigan superintendent is responding to the claims after last month's shooting. We're going to hear from what the superintendent is saying, and we drew up in a lawsuit when we come back. There's the latest from Michigan about that lawsuit that we told you about. This is from CNN. The Michigan superintendent calls claims in the lawsuit over high school shooting irresponsible and false. The superintendent district where 4 students were shot dead in Michigan high school posted an open letter countering claims made in a lawsuit accusing the district of not doing enough to prevent the attack. The Oxford Community School Superintendent Tim Throne's letter on Thursday decreed what he said were numerous responsible and false accusations and inaccurate claims made about his district related to the November 30th shooting. The letter at this point does not mention the lawsuit in which the parents of the 2 surviving students accused the district of not acting against multiple red flags before the shooting. However, the letter goes on to argue that many claims the lawsuit makes, it says the district will respond to the inaccurate filing by Jeffrey Feiger, the attorney who filed the lawsuit. And CNN reached out Thursday to Feiger for the comment in the letter. But the letter addresses certain claims the lawsuit makes about Kremlin weeks before the shooting, including the allegedly brought a severed bird handed to the school in a jar on November 30th, which was 19 days before the shooting. It also addresses tips made through Michigan's OK to Say program, in which people can confidentially report threats to student safety. All tips in November investigated by law enforcement. But the superintendent says that it was false. But the lawsuit says Cohen brought live ammunition to Oxford, and I believe displayed the same while in the classroom. But he wrote that allegations regarding ammunition being discovered at school are completely false. The county prosecutor alleged that on November 29th, the teacher at Oxford saw Kremlin searching online for ammunition on his phone. The teacher notified school officials to contact Kremlin's parents by phone and email, but did not respond. The lawsuit says on November 16th, the parents expressed concerns with the principal about threats Kremlin allegedly made on social media. The letter says the district was unaware of the perpetrator's social media presence or related posts until after the November 30th incident. It also alleged that the principal emailed parents also on November 16th saying, "I know I'm being redundant here, but there's absolutely no threat at the high school. Large assumptions were made from a few social media posts. Then the assumptions evolved into rumors." After the email exchange, the superintendent warned students over loudspeaker to stop spreading information over social media and stop relying on information on social media. The lawsuit was initially filed in the U.S. District Court of Michigan in December by the family of 2 sisters survived the shooting. Oxford Community Schools, the superintendent of the Oxford principal, dean of students, as well as unarmed teachers and defendants. One of the sisters was shot in the neck. The lawsuit seeks more than $100 million for each of the girls. But the prosecutor has asked the school district to not unruly comment upon the details surrounding the case. But throughout, Principal Stephen Wolf, administrators, teachers, and support staff follow their training in the independent district. More to the point, they put their safety of our students above their own safety with criminal conduct. But throw that the school is looking forward to having students back on campus next week. We will look forward to letting the truth and the facts prevail during the investigation. But there is probably more school threats happening. Just 2 days ago, it will ruin your life. Police schools plead for solution to ongoing threats. In the world of social media, school threats have become a lot more common nationwide as well as locally. From January 21 to 22, there have been at least 19 school threats in Butler County. That's what the sheriff said. In December, deputies arrested a 13-year-old and charged her for making terroristic threats, which resulted in the closing of the Liberty Junior School. The superintendent said we had a couple of cases where students will make a threat because they want to get out of school for some reason, and obviously We take those very seriously. Sheriff Jones says school and law enforcement need to work together to address these threats and come up with solutions. Like Oxford, they didn't do anything enough. They reported it and then they did nothing. That's why I side with the students here in this lawsuit. And the sheriff said, make no mistake about it. We've made arrests, and when you make an arrest, you're a juvenile. We charge you for making terroristic threats, and it's a felony. There's a felony there. 3. We've had that here, and I want to let you know, you're a juvenile, you'll be locked up. A spokesperson of the Sheriff's Department says about half of the 19 school threats led to no arrests. That's because the school wasn't doing anything enough. And just today, there was another threat. Police in Fairfield student made an arrest against school threats on Yik Yak. A student was arrested after police said they made a threat against a school in town on the social media app Yik Yak. School administrators were notified and police started looking into the threat. Police say during their investigation determined the person who posted the threat was a student. The student was arrested and police say there was no active threats against any schools, students, or staff. However, because of the incident, police say there will be extra officers at the school. The latest incident comes dozens of schools in recent weeks, not just in Connecticut, but across the country. Last month, in Norwalk, a juvenile was arrested for following a slew of hoax threats that prompted school lockdowns. According to the Apple App Store, Yik Yak is a social media smartphone application that allows people to create and view discussion threads within a 5-mile radius. Yik Yak. Anytime a threat is being made, they take it very, very seriously. And just 2 days ago, there was a bomb threat. Just 2-3 days ago, there was a bomb threat that happened. 2:30. Like 2:30. People make threats to our schools like 2:30, and they announced that the high school was on lockdown. Everyone was evacuated. And by 3:30, everyone was dismissed, as far as I can tell. And just moments ago, police arrested a person of interest in a threat that had closed West Michigan School District. A person of interest has been arrested after a threat prompted sending students home and the closure of buildings in the West Michigan School District. The county sheriff's department says a person identified in the investigation as a suspect threat target at Kellogg schools in custody on unrelated charges. Deputies don't believe they are continuing to be making threats. In an update, classes will resume Friday. This issue has been resolved and the person of interest has been apprehended based on the work completed by the Berry County Sheriff's Department and Michigan State Police. We will be in session on school on Friday, January 24th, which was yesterday. But I'm going to tell you this right, and I'll have a final thought about these threats in a moment. If you post a threat, fake or real, you're going to jail. That's what one officer said. And a lot of other sheriffs agree with this. If you were to make a threat, especially if one parent did, which is what happened today. A Virginia mother was charged Friday that she said a school board meeting that she would bring every single gun loaded and ready to fight mass requirements for her children. Amelia King later emailed the board and apologized for the choice of words, saying she was not referring to actual firearms. But the police department said King, 42, was charged with making an oral threat on school property. She's been released on a $5,000 bond. This is from Virginia. whether students make the threat or a parent makes the threat, you're going to jail for a long time. And for you guys, you kids out there, you will go to juvie. I take threats very seriously. I've covered these threats since December, since the day of the school shooting, and I will continue to cover these threats through thick and thin until you guys have had enough of this. I'm not going to stop. And if I have to stop, I will stop. I hear parents apologize, hear kids apologize, saying, I'm sorry for this, blah, blah, blah. You're the one that made the threat. You may think it's a joke, but police and school districts take it very seriously. I take this very seriously as well. That's why for 5 years I dedicated this show to education. What's wrong with our education and what can be done about it? And if I have to take it a step further to take the show to colleges and other schools in the area to say that's enough, stuff has to change, that's what I have to do. But I just hate when I have to talk about this crap. Let's make this year right. Fighting COVID and not make more threats to our local schools. Because what we're doing right now is bouncing off the wall. And according to Oxford, they didn't do anything enough to prevent this from happening. They didn't arrest Crumley before the shooting, and they arrested Crumley after. But no one did anything enough to stop it. I'm concerned about students, I'm concerned about parents, and I'm concerned why parents are scared of their kids. That's why they're dead in Colorado, Oxford, Virginia Tech, because no one wants, because they're scared of their own kids. Search your room. It's my house. You live in my house, you live by my rules. I'm paying the rent anyway. All these rooms in here is mine. I'm paying the rent. Checking drawers, under the bed, etc. You bring drugs in my house, I let me search you, or get out. That's how it's going to be. That's always this Give Me a Break Friday going to Saturday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Saturday night. For all of us here at YouTube, have a good night.